This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. As the days get shorter and colder, it can really take a toll on how we feel. Maybe that means calling your grandma, writing a letter to your friend, finally grabbing lunch with someone you haven't seen in a while. And just like reaching out to a friend, starting therapy can take a bit of courage. BetterHelp makes it easy to start therapy. You'll be matched with a licensed therapist based on your needs and preferences so you can focus on your growth and goals. Not happy with your match? You can switch therapists anytime with no hassle. This month, don't wait to reach out, whether that's checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself. BetterHelp makes it easier to take that first step. And our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/PFF. That's betterhelp.com/PFF.
Rams and the 49ers. The Rams get their revenge on the Niners, who beat them earlier this season. Rams end up beating them this time around 42-26. On the Rams side of things, offensive guard Kevin Dotson at the top of their list with a 91.3 overall grade. Tight end Colby Parkinson with an 89.7. Center Coleman Shelton with an 87.2. Offensive guard Steve Avila with an 86.5, and offensive tackle Alaric Jackson with an 81.7. Dalton, what does that look like to you? Awfully trench heavy right there.
Hey, your offensive line plays like that.
I was going to say, if you got four of your five offensive linemen that have above an 81 grade, and they're the top five graded players for your team, I think that you're doing all right. Matthew Stafford in this game, an 87.6. On San Francisco's side of things, their tight end George Kittle was at the top of their list with an 81.5. Sammy O, don't know how to say his last name. Apologies, it's on me. He's number 2 on the list with a 70.5. Offensive tackle Trent Williams, 70.3. Offensive guard Ben Barch with a 70.2. Wide receiver Jawan Jennings with a 68.2. Mac Jones a 69.3. Seth told the story here, Dalton.
Trev, I got a couple of weird things, okay? The score, because we have another 44-22 game coming later. 44-22, all right? We've only had, including this week,
44-22.
Only 4 games ever that have ended 44-22. One of them was in 1967, okay? The other 3 have come in the last 4 weeks, including 2 yesterday. Just throwing it out there. Isn't that weird?
Why wouldn't you have brought that up with one of the games that ended 44-22?
Because I forgot to, and this is only the second also 42-26 game ever because I forgot.
Okay, all right.
For a second, I forgot which game was 44-22 and the other one actually because
now we're getting
I was looking at it and I had the stat for this one and the other one mixed up because it's been a long morning and I was up at 6 a.m. But either way, this was also only the second 42-26 game.
So not scoregami
of all time. Yes, just the second one.
Okay.
First one, 2001, Peyton Manning throwing 4 touchdowns with the Colts against the Bills, 42-26.
Nice.
So we've got the 2 games, 44-22 are a little weird, and this is a weird score. But either way, I also have a record setter here for the Rams.
All right, let's hear it.
93.6 offensive grade as a team, best they've ever had, best that the Rams have ever had in the history of PFF, the 20-year history. That's how good they were. You talk about those offensive linemen and Stafford and the tight ends and the 2 backs and Puka Nacua doing everything that he does. Mm-hmm. You just were not stopping the Rams on this day if you were San Francisco. And look, the Niners, they've got all their injuries on defense. And look, the first time they beat them, they still had Fred Warner, right? I mean, they just still had enough. They just couldn't compete with this team. And look, the Rams, I think the facts are pretty simple. That's why I'm going to highlight their offensive line as my most impressive. How about a 93.2 grade as a unit, a 94.8 run blocking grade as a unit, and they only allowed 7 pressures all day.
Yeah.
If their offensive line plays like that, because that's really, to me, the one big question, especially with pass protection the way it was last year. And this year it's been shaky, starting to look like the fully healthy version of themselves and getting it together. If the Rams' offensive line plays like this, they're not losing. That's simple. That goes for most teams, but especially with the way Stafford's throwing the ball, and sometimes you can get the clean and pressured splits with him as an older quarterback. If their offensive line plays like this, they will not lose. I don't care. I don't care if it's the Niners, the Seahawks, the Eagles. I don't care who. And that's the big question is when you're playing those teams like Philadelphia or even eventually Green Bay or somebody like that who can really rush the passer. Can you block those teams? Now, this is a Niners defensive line that's just decimated. They don't have anything right now. But if their offensive line plays anything close to this, regular season, postseason, they're not losing. And Stafford's going to win an MVP with them blocking like that.
So I totally agree with you. And I'll take it a step further or bring another piece of evidence to the table of why you should have faith in this Rams team. Okay, the first 3 possessions for the Los Angeles Rams in this game: touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. It's 21-0. Pass the sticks. You're done. Okay, 21-0. You basically feel like you got the game in hand. But of course, as the saying goes, a lot of football left. Game starts to slow down a little bit. The 49ers score a touchdown right before half. And then the 49ers score a touchdown to open the second half.
Doubling up. Gotta love it.
So now all of a sudden, it's 21-14. Now you're in a spot where you go, okay, now we got a football game here. What I want to highlight is in the second half, when the game becomes more of a game, it's 21-14. The Los Angeles Rams then had 3 possessions in which the 49ers scored a touchdown in the second half. That first one, and then 2 more that happened after that, because the Niners went touchdown, punt, and then it was touchdown to touchdown. Those drives were drive number 5, number 7, and number 8 for the Los Angeles Rams. Every single time the 49ers scored a touchdown, you know what the Rams did?
Answered.
Scored a touchdown.
Answer the call.
That's the kind of team we're talking about here. That's the kind of head coach we're talking about. It's the kind of quarterback we're talking about. It's the kind of skilled position players and veterans that we're talking about. It's the kind of offensive line that we're talking about. When you have the ability to get punched in the mouth and throw a haymaker back, that was because that's the thing. I think a lot of people are going to look at this game and they're going to go, final score 42-26. It was 21-0 at the end of the game. This game was never close. And that's just not the story of how this game should be told. The story of this game should be the fact that it was a 1-possession game in the second half. And every single time the 49ers tried to get life, the Rams scored a touchdown. They matched him 7 for 7 every single time, scoring those touchdowns. And they had let me look this up, 89.0 offensive grade on ensuing drives after the Niners scored a touchdown. It's awesome. That's just awesome.
And I think the best part about that is when you think about what was really, Mac Jones was obviously very good, but what was really, from the Rams' perspective, the reason they lost to the 49ers in that home game on that Thursday night, they just didn't finish them off. They just didn't finish him off that night, right? Mm-hmm. Fumbling at the goal line. They never
yes.
put him away. And Sean McVey looked at his team and goes, hey, he probably said it before the game. We're better than them. We just have to finish them off because we didn't do it last time.
And that's my most impressive is Sean McVey. I don't know if he's going to win Coach of the Year.
You got a lot of good candidates.
You got a lot of good candidates.
Vrabel. McDonald? Mike McDonald?
Steichen, McDonald. Right, like I think that a lot of those guys are the flashier names for the list. There might not be a case that anybody's head coaching better than Sean McVay right now. And this game, he went up against one of the best head coaches in the NFL. And I mean, he had Kyle Shanahan, or he had Robert Saleh, honestly, in the walls of Jericho, like with what he wanted to do. The Rams roster, when it is fully healthy, is... And in this game, there were a lot of examples of this. They can do whatever they want.
Yep.
And they are one step ahead of you every single step of the way. When they're running the football well at a heavy personnel, because they got 3 tight ends, they are not afraid to put on the field at any point in time. When they go heavy personnel and they run the football and they start to have success running the football and they force you to get out of a nickel and go to base, guess what they're going to do? They're going to throw the ball then to those tight ends. Okay? When they start spreading the ball out a little bit more, right? Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Terrence Ferguson, right? Like all of these guys are on the field. Jordan Whittington, whoever it is, they start spreading it out. All of a sudden, okay, well, now we've got to match them speed for speed. Then all of a sudden you go, all right, we're going to catch them being a nickel, or we're going to catch them being a little bit lighter than what they normally are. We're going to put heavy personnel on the field. Now we're ready for it. Boom. Here we go. We're punching back. They can run out of 11 personnel, and they can pass out of 13 personnel, and everything in between. And I think that's what makes this Rams team such a dangerous team. Niners defensive line, I think they really struggled in this game, but I don't want to keep beating a dead horse with that. I mean, like it just is what it is. They're just not good enough right now. They've got a lot of young guys who are in their first year in the league, and the veterans are just hurt, or they're not out there, or they're not playing well.
They just don't have the guys to stop a team like this. They had Fred Warner and some of those guys the first time around with this, but this is the problem moving forward with the 49ers defense is that there's just so many kids out there, right?
Yeah.
And plus, they already lost one of them in Michael Williams for the season too. So, it is what it is. I think if you're the Niners, you just go, look, we weren't stopping them on this day. And McVey, I think that's the biggest thing you're getting across there with McVey and this team and this roster is he's got every answer in the book he could possibly want. You look at their offense and you go, there's nothing they can't do. The only thing I would say is that as long as they pass protect well enough and Stafford can mitigate some of that with the read and his eyes and his field vision and everything, because even the motions are unbelievable too with the way they move Nakua around to read the coverages. They've got all the answers. And this game, if their offensive line plays like this, they're pretty much unstoppable. Mm-hmm. If they just get solid games out of their offensive line, they're not losing.